In this video, we are going to look specifically at some examples of solving linear equations. So there's a few things we need to remember about linear equations. The first being that linear equations have a power of 1. Now because of this, it means that they only have one solution. When we're trying to solve, what you typically have to do is isolate the variable over to one side and move all of your other numbers to the other. So I've got a couple examples here that we're just going to look at, different types of examples so you can see what some of the different solutions might be. Okay. So the first things first is on this left hand side we need to take the 7 on the outside and distribute it through. So distributing means we're going to multiply it in, and so we're going to multiply this to both parts. So here we're going to end up with 21x plus 42. Now my 11 is going to stay as is, so this is going to be 11. And this minus sign then has to be distributed into this back parentheses here, again meaning multiply. So this means my parentheses here is going to change your sign. So this becomes minus x minus 2. Now if you see this left hand side again, there's nothing else for us to do, but over on this right hand side I've got this 11 and I have this negative 2, and so one thing that we could do with that is we could go ahead and combine them. So here we're going to have 21x plus that 42 is equal to, and I've got 11 minus 2, which is going to give me 9 minus x. Now once you get it all down to where you have a single variable on each side, we need to combine those. I personally like to make my variables positive, so I'm going to take this negative x here and I'm going to move it to the other side of my equation. Since it is negative, that means it's subtracting. To move it says that we have to add the x to both sides. So here this becomes 21x plus 1. So we get a 22x. And then I have this 42. So if I move my variable to the left, I have to move the 42 over. So this 42 right here is going to move in the other direction. Since it is being added, to move it says we subtract. And so we are going to end with 9 minus my 42. So we're going to have negative 33. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to isolate the x. And so we do that by dividing this whole thing here by my 22. So that's going to end up with x is equal to a negative 33 over 22. Now once you think you have your solution, you always need to remember that we need to reduce down to its smallest terms. Therefore, this would end up being x is equal to negative 3 halves. And this would be the solution that we wanted. And so in this case, it would be fractional form. This next example, we're going to do some of the exact same things. So notice on this right hand side, we need to distribute this 4 into its parentheses. On this left hand side there's nothing to do as of yet, so we can keep this as 4y plus 9. Distribute the 4 in and we end up with 4y plus 16, and then we have this minus 10 on the outside. Now we need to go ahead and combine our terms. So here this is still going to be 4y plus 9 is equal to 4y. And now I have plus 6. Now if you look very closely, my variable term is the same. Okay, if I were to say take my variable here and move it to the other side of the equation, because it's positive, to move it says I have to subtract. So that would give me 4y minus 4y, which means that goes away. Leaves me with 9 equals 6. Which we know to be a false statement. False statements mean that you have no solution. Okay, so this would be an example of a specialized special type of solution, i.e. no solution, meaning it doesn't matter what you plug in for your y value, you're going to come out with nothing working either way. So a false statement again gives you no solution. Now the last thing that I see a lot of, at least that seems to bother a lot of students, is when we have fractions here. So when we have fractions, the rule is going to be the same. However, the first thing that we have to do is we have to find your LCD, or lowest common multiple. Okay. So in this case, I have the numbers 2, 8, and 4. So one of the things that I like to try and do is see, will my 2 go into 8? Will the 4 go into 8? And in this case, they do, which tells me that my least common is going to be 8. Now with that, my middle fraction already has 8 on the bottom, but my others need to change. And so because of this equal sign, okay, with this equal sign here, this says that we can multiply the entire equation by that least common denominator term. Okay, so here I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 8. So this was the 4x minus 3 over 2 plus my 3/8, and then I've got the 7x plus 3 over 4. So I'm going to distribute this 8 into each part of my terms. So when I'm looking at this first term, 8 over 2 gives me 4 left behind, so this becomes 4 times the 4x minus 3. 8 over 8 goes away, so this becomes plus 3. 8 over 4 is going to leave me with 2, so this is 2 times 7x plus 3. And now if you look, this is the same problem as what we had in our previous examples. So we're going to go ahead and distribute through our parentheses on both sides of the equation here. So we're going to end up with 16x minus 12 plus 3 is equal to 14x plus 6. We're going to combine the terms that we can. So I have the 16x, we're going to have minus 9 is equal to 14x plus 6. We're going to take this 14 and we're going to move it to the other side. Because it's positive, to move it says we have to subtract. 16x minus a 14x is going to give me a 2x. And because we moved it, it means we need to take the 9 and move that over to the other side. Because the 9 is negative, to move it says we have to add. So we're going to have 6 plus 9, which is going to give us 15. Get x by itself, we end up with x being 15 over 2. Now since this can't reduce at all, that would be your final result. So that is just a quick snapshot in what it means to solve linear equations to find the variable solutions you're looking for. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I will see you next time.